everybody, and welcome to the September edition of the CATS Coffee Break. My name is Bobby Benzer, the Eastern Regional Manager for the Children's and Teen Services Department at Baker & Taylor, and I'm joined by
Rita King, the Children's and Teen Services Manager on the western side of the United States.
And we're also joined by our beloved pets, Hades Mercedes and
Julie King.
Hi, Julie. Rita and I are here with Julie and Hades today to talk about a cool initiative happening at Baker & Taylor with the CATS department, a cool new digital initiative. And then we're going to talk about some of the books that we're currently reading when we sit down to hang out with our pet pals at night and cuddle up on the couch, right, Hades? We're also going to be joined by Beverly Horowitz of Delacorte Press at Random House to talk about some of the books that she's got going on and coming down the pipeline later this month. She's done with the coffee break, so now I can have some of my coffee. So now I'm going to turn some things over to Rita. She's going to talk about the Highlights Activity Bingo program, and then we're going to talk about the books. Thanks, Rita.
Thanks, Bobby. And thanks, everyone, for listening today. I have tea, not coffee. So you tea drinkers, I have your backs here. I'm going to talk a little bit about a new initiative that we have. It's the Highlights B&T Activity Program. It's really exciting at B&T that we've launched this new program. I think it was June 6th that we launched it. It's been really successful so far, and it helps bring multiple use access ebook material as well as activities to those users at your library ages 2 through 12. So we're helping you reach those younger readers at your library. And the ebook and activity program supports remote access and it as well as has quality reading material. And this program can help you with remote learning for those families homeschooling, or maybe just your outreach to your public schools. And it's just a great way to interact with your public at this time, as well as maybe your school visits aren't going to happen this year. So it can help with those Reader Roundup programs, or maybe third grade reading initiative programs. And for being a program participant, you have access to 197 ebooks with multiple user access, like I mentioned before, and you have access to 12 themed bingo cards that you can have access to through September 30th, 2021. So as soon as you sign up, you'll have all school year as well as all next summer to take part in these ebooks and activities with your community. It's pretty exciting stuff. And all the books help support social emotional learning as well as have diverse characters. So if you are interested in the program, just reach out to Bobby and I, depending on what part of the country you are in. I'm in the West, everything west of the Mississippi River, you can say, including Michigan, Illinois, and Wisconsin. I reside in Michigan with Julie here, and Bobby has everything on the east of that.
Thanks so much, Rita. It really has been a really fun program with such a wonderful brand, and we look forward to sharing more information with any librarians that are interested. Now we're going to start talking about some books that we're currently reading. My two titles are January pub dates. The first is a middle grade debut called Clues to the Universe. I'm reading the digital arc right now with Hades. She's being a shy kitty right now. And I'm a geek for anything astronomy related, anything star related. So that's a huge element to this middle grade debut about an unlikely friendship. I'm going to read the synopsis real quick. The only thing that Rosalind Ling Garrity loves more than watching NASA launches with her dad is building rockets with him. When he's unexpectedly killed, all Ro has left of him is an unfinished model rocket they had been working on together. Benji Burns doesn't like science at all, but he can't get enough of Spacebound, his favorite comic book series. When he finds a sketch that suggests his dad created the comics, he's thrilled. Too bad his dad walked out on the family years ago, and Benji has no way of contacting him. Though Ro and Benji were only supposed to be science class partners, the unlikely pair become friends. Benji helps Ro finish her rocket, and Ro figures out a way to reunite Benji and his dad. But Benji hesitates, which infuriates Ro. Doesn't he realize how much Ro wishes she could be in his place? As the two face bullying, grief, and their own differences, Benji and Ro must try to piece together clues to some of the biggest questions in the universe. This book is so beautifully written. It is really well paced. It's a dual narrative. It's got both boy and girl appeal, and it really is following this new trend we've been seeing, especially in middle grade fiction, of like really strong female characters that love science and STEM. So it's following on the heels of that. And I'm just really, really excited about it. It's geared towards grades 3 to 4, and you can say it's good for fans of Holly Goldberg Sloan, as well as Erin Entrada Kelly, and even Rebecca Stead. Again, clues to the universe. And then my other title that I just started reading, but I have, I no doubt that the ending will be just as good as the beginning, is Bedazzled, also a January pub. This one is for ages 15 and up, and it's by Ryan LaSala. It's his follow-up to his breakout debut from last year called Reverie. Reverie was a fantasy. This is a realistic read. That's kind of the theme of the books that Rita and I are talking about today. It's about 17-year-old Raffi, who has a passion for bedazzling. Not just bedazzling, but sewing and stitching and costume making. And he's always chosen art over pretty much everything else in his life, family, friends, relationships. He's got a one-track mind, and that's to get into a really great art school. And he's got a really big competition coming up, a cosplay competition. And if he can wow there, then he knows that that can lead to sponsorship, scholarships, and art school. And he really thinks that he can win. The only problem is he realizes when he gets there is that his ex-boyfriend, Luca, is his main competition. And then when Raffi is forced to partner with Luca on this really ambitious build, have to juggle his unresolved feelings for this boy who broke his heart, his first love, and his own intense feelings of self-doubt as he works towards this uber important goal of his. It's sort of like Project Runway meets Comic-Con. It's campy, it's fun, it's really energetic writing. It's a really great We Need Diverse Books title, and just a really impressive follow-up to a really wonderful debut. Again, January pub, ages 15 and up, Bedazzled. And now I'm going to turn things over to Rita.
Thanks, Bobby. So the first book I'm going to share with you today that Juliet and I have been enjoying is Starfish by Lisa Phipps. It's a debut novel in verse for all those girls learning that they are fabulous just as they are. So ever since her 5th birthday, she had a 5th birthday pool party, Ellie has been bullied about her weight. And she tries to cope by avoiding doing things like running too fast or walking too fast so that her fat doesn't jiggle, or even eating in public. So she likes to escape to her pool to get away from all of those fat obsessed people. And the pool just helps her become weightless and just makes her feel good. And this story is about a girl becoming unapologetic and accepting her very own fabulous self. This book is for grades 4 through 6, and it's fabulous. Make sure to pick it up. The next one just cracks me up because it is TVH. No One Can Ever Know, a novel in text by Lisa Greenwald. It's part of the TVH series that you probably have heard of before. This is number 7. It's for grades 3 through 4. And this book is told entirely in text messages, emojis, and past notes, which TBH is really hard for an old lady like me to decipher.
Yeah.
So it's a really good thing that Julie here is only 5 and can help me get through the book. I really want to be that cool, but I'm just not that cool. So I've learned a lot. And in this book, these 4 BFFs have a lot to deal with in the 7th book. The real question readers get to ponder is, can you take back a secret once you've shared it? And there's, of course, an OTT mom, which, if you don't know, is over the top, overprotective mom. And some of the mother-daughter relationships need to be healed. But you'll just have to read it to find out if secrets can really, what happens when a secret is shared.
Can't ever go back. Well, that sounds really good, Rita. I'm going to have to add both of those to my to-be-read pile. What do you think, Katie? All right, continuing on with our book discussion, we actually were lucky enough to have Beverly Horowitz of Delacorte Books Press for Young Readers, an imprint of Random House, Penguin Random House, join us. And she joined to talk to us about some trends she's currently seeing in teen reads, and also about some books that her press has coming down the pipeline in the next several months. Just to introduce Beverly, Beverly Horowitz is the Senior VP and Publisher of Delacorte Press, an imprint of Random House children's books. Horowitz began her career in editorial, but to learn all aspects of the publishing business, she held positions as publicity and promotions director, and as academic and marketing and school and library marketing director at various publishing houses. A true Renaissance lady. After gathering this experience early in her career, she returned to her passion for editorial work at Delacorte Press at Random House. In addition to the administrative aspects of her job, Beverly has never stopped being an editor. Authors she works with include Louis Sachar, E. Lockhart, Judy Blume, Brian Stevenson, Julie Buxbaum, Rob Bouyer, and many, many, many more. It's quite a list. She's also acquired many novels for translation, and throughout her career, she's been an advocate of First Amendment rights and has fought against censorship. I've had the pleasure of knowing Beverly for a long time, and I love listening to her talk about books. There's really no other person that I love listening to a book talk more than when it's Beverly giving it. So we're so happy she could join us, and without any further ado, Beverly. Hi, Beverly. Thanks
Hi,
so much
Bobby.
for being here. Yeah, I'm so excited. We're so excited to have you. The Children's and Teen Services Department at Baker and Taylor welcomes you, and we always love hearing you talk about books. And today we're going to talk a little bit, or we're going to hear from you a little bit about how you've seen the trends in contemporary fiction and nonfiction evolve over your career, and where you see the trend heading in this current moment, and through the process of talking about some of your books that you've got coming out. And before we were recording, we were talking a little bit about how what's really interesting is how, you know, for a lot of young adult and middle grade readers, the past was once the present for someone else, right? So a lot for, you know, this current moment we find ourselves in will one day be historical fiction or memoir. And of course, today's youth is so engaged in a different way than I think maybe they might have been years ago. So I think that really informs a lot of what we're going to be hearing about today, and a lot of how you see the work that you publish at Delacorte. So I'm very, very excited to turn things over to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, Thank you, and thanks to your whole team. I know how great they are, and they've been so good reaching out to the librarians who are also reaching out. So everybody, kudos to all. I guess in terms of general trends, what comes around goes around, even though the world keeps changing under our feet. And I would say that there is more teen activism today. I think we went through a few decades post-60s where people accepted certain kinds of new rules and then were so used to having them, it was easy to live them. But I think things have really changed again. And in terms of the kind of activism that there is, it's in many areas. Underlying that, however, I think the basic genres are still there. So I'm going to talk to you right now about a book that we're instantly putting out by someone who was an activist as a 6-year-old, but now 60 years later as an adult. Ruby Bridges, whom you may know or remember as the child in New Orleans who integrated a school that many did not want to have desegregated, and she in fact was immortalized in a famous painting by Norman Rockwell, where she is walked as a little 6-year-old by 4 federal marshals into the school. And she has, with the 60th anniversary coming up on the 16th of November, she has written a letter to young peacemakers, to young people who have become activists who maybe don't know what to do. Her book is called This Is Your Time. I hope everyone will read it and share it with others. It is not only Ruby's story, it is really a call to be tolerant, to understand, and to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. It is not per se a memoir, although it is because you're following what Ruby went through. So This Is Your Time does take the past and make it the present for young people today who are active. And that's one book I hope everybody will be on the lookout for. In terms of the genres we know that I don't think ever fade, although they have different kinds of approaches, one thing I think is here forever is romance.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want romance in their life, in whatever new romance rules there exist, if there are any, or breaking all the rules? And we did something really, I think, fun and nimble, and we put together it is a paperback original, Adele Court, called Together Apart. And these are 9 contemporary love stories set during lockdown, and it's kind of meets cute with a mask. How's that?
How interesting. Okay.
And this collection, which we're just about to get through instant production, it also comes out in October, also has wonderful authors from Natasha Preston, Brittany Morris, Rachel Lippincott, really a wonderful group of people. A wide variety of love stories. Any kind you've ever thought of is probably in one of these 9 stories. And the other thing that I felt very strongly about, as did every author included, is that we are giving a donation to an organization called Active Minds, and they are concerned with the mental health of teenagers. And we know that kids are going through
Some stuff.
a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
from the socioeconomics of things that have changed their family to not being in school, to the simple things of expecting a prom and not having one, which there it is. But I really do feel that this is a wonderful collection, and at a time when things are grim and we might not know what's happening, I can guarantee you all different kinds of love stories and all different kinds of happy endings. So
Amazing. That's awesome.
it's called Together Apart, and I think people will really love it.
I've been personally really happy with the number of anthologies that I've been publishing for this audience over the past several handful of years too. So
Yeah. I think also that there is a variety of the kinds of interactions between kids, how they meet cute, meet I didn't know, you whatever. Keep your distancing. All of the stories follow the rules of what our time period is. And it's sadly probably going to be the same in October. So it's a perfect time for the book. And every author of the 9 involved was so eager to have a positive contribution. And also, as I said, we will be donating to Active Minds, which kids are sadly, some of them needing mental health services, and this will help them. So another book in a totally different category would be by Karen McManus. Many of you know Karen McManus's books as thrillers that kids who love to read, kids who don't like to read, kids who love thrillers, but might think, well, can she do it again? Yes, Karen McManus can do it again. And her new book is called The Cousins. And in The Cousins, it is set during the summer when supposedly 4 cousins meet because their grandmother invited them to an island. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but if you think about how Karen McManus can weave both interesting family dynamics, thrillers, and surprises together, The Cousins, no matter how much Family First is supposed to be, what happens is going to really make people think Karen McManus just gets better and better. So there's a new thriller from Karen coming out in the fall as well. And you also mentioned nonfiction, and I do have a book that has just recently come out, and I have to say it's one of those books. I do adult books in young adult versions. We did that with Just Mercy, which has been highly praised and is read now widely. Trevor Noah's book has a young people's edition. And this is a book you may not be as familiar with, but I hope everybody will go and look for it. It's called Call Me American. And it's the extraordinary true story of a Somali immigrant. His name is Abid Nur Iftin. And I can tell you, and proudly, because he included me, he has just become an American and a prouder man you cannot find in the world.
That's so wonderful.
It really was a thrill. So this has gotten 3 or 4 starred reviews, 4, excuse me, I'm not neglecting anybody. And I can quote one of the reviews, which was I think Kirkus, and it said, remarkably nuanced story, full of details and nuance and a deeper understanding of immigration today. And what's interesting about this story is that this kid in America, in Somalia, had a terrible, terrible life, but what kept him going initially was his passionate love of listening to everything American. And he learned English that way. And he was able to keep up his spirits with the dream of what America might offer. And, you know, today, America is not necessarily everything we all want it to be, and yet it still is an inspiration. And here is his story. So I hope people will look at Call Me American, because it is really, as I said, 4-star reviews and an extraordinary story. And when he gets here, he still has a lot to go through, but ultimately, yes, he became an American, and proudly so. And there's room in the United States, right, for lots of immigrants and lots of people who have much to contribute, as he ultimately does. So there's that.
I'm looking forward to that. You guys do a wonderful version of your Youngified editions. You did one for Hillebrand's book.
Yeah, the other book we have coming, but not until January, is by Ta-Nehisi Coates, and it's called The Beautiful Struggle. And this is one of his very early books. It is not the letter to his son, which is a later book. It is his own life as he and his father interacted. And his father was a very opinionated man, a member of the Black Panthers very early on, and also somebody who was Afrocentric and wanted his sons to shape up And Ta-Nehisi, as a kid, was not a good student and pranked out and did a lot of things that his father did not find the least bit amusing. And he was a tough parent, but all for the sake of wanting his son to achieve. And ultimately, Ta-Nehisi did see the light and became obviously a student, went to Howard, and is now one of the finest writers that we have in the US. But this is the beautiful struggle, and it is because internal family struggles sometimes seem not so beautiful, but ultimately when it's your own family, you find ways to connect. So that'll be coming in January, and it's set in Baltimore where Ta-Nehisi grew up, and I do feel there's a lot of strength in that book. Inspiration for young boys and girls, but especially young boys who either have family issues, are disappointed that their parents may not see them in the way they'd like to be seen, but then ultimately finding they do have other skills and intelligence that they might use in a different way. So I love that one. I recommend that. Another book that I want to mention in a totally different world is one of privilege. And there still are a lot of people having the joy of privilege, but it doesn't always turn out that having privilege is exactly what you need. The book is called Admission, and it is by Julie Buxbaum. And it is a variation of, yes, the college admission scandal story. It is a fictionalized account, though, of a young girl in California from a very wealthy family. Her life in her private school, the things that she initially takes for granted, and also the pressure from her family. Her parents want her to go to a certain college and are willing to do anything to get her in. We know that we followed this with many wealthy people all across the United States, especially a group in California. And what happens when the family is uncovered to have done what they've done?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. But in some ways, what is the child's responsibility? Is this girl aware of what they've been doing? Is she also responsible? How should she feel about not only what her parents have done because they love her so much, or is it that they just love prestige and they don't want to be embarrassed? So it could be at this higher level, I would say, of, you know, the financial institutions that these people are a part of. But I think for a lot of kids, there's that moment where they don't want to disappoint their parents. And they think, if I don't get into some school or what my parents expect of me, who will I be? What will happen to me? So although this is about the more privileged, it is not just a story for those kids. And there also is a counterpoint story to one of her friends who is not indeed a privileged girl. She is a brilliant young woman who is on scholarship, and how she feels both about her friendship, about her life, and also simultaneously the expectation of her parents on her. It's not that different how those girls feel about being pressured. So although their lives are really different, the pressure is intense, and that's what they've got. So
certainly everybody can relate to discovering that the adults in their life are fallible. That's something that hasn't changed
yes,
over the years. So
that's exactly right. And I think so many books, I know as an editor, for me, I always say to the authors, you really don't believe that kids exist without adults in their life, do you? You know, Nancy Drew definitely could solve a mystery without anybody, but it's a new world now, and she did a great job. But now we're talking about kids who are doing all kinds of things, and those things ultimately connect back to their family, either being what their family wants them to be or saying to their family, I am not like you. I have different feelings, I have different expectations, and I have different opinions, and I should be allowed to have them. So I do think Admission does deal with a lot of that self-image and also self-esteem. So I would say those are a number of books. There are many more, but I'm not going to go on. I'm going to turn it over to the librarians to read, love, promote those books, talk to kids about how they feel living in a moment that is history, And I hope that we can continue to enjoy, talk about, and help young people find interesting ideas and thoughts during this difficult time. And thank you, librarians. Thank you, Baker and Taylor, and particular thanks to you, Bobby.
Oh, thanks so much, Beverly. And thanks to you and your team for all you do at Delacorte, for all you do to bring great books to young readers. It's very much appreciated. Stay safe and well there in New York.
Everybody out there, safe and well.
Bye now.
Bye.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Beverly. I just loved listening to that. For those of you tuning in, if you'd like to learn more about the books that Beverly just discussed, as well as the ones that Rita and I discussed, there's going to be a link at the end of our talk here, a little slide with a link where you can learn more about the books and Title Source 360. And there's some other resources too that you can check out.
And we want to let our listeners know that we're going to be doing some spring 2021 Title Talk events. They're going to be 2 hours long. We're going to be doing those starting November 10th. And the first one's going to be board books and easy readers. And then the week after that, we're going to do beginner chapter books and middle grade. And then 2 weeks after that, because we're skipping Thanksgiving week, so you can celebrate with your families, we're going to be doing a YA teen Title Talk event. We're really super excited because they're going to have special guest authors, including Kevin Henkes, Mac Barnett, and we're working on many others. So you'll have to stay tuned to see if we release those big names.
And what's so cool about them too is that they're virtual, just like this. So no matter where you are in the country, you're going to be able to tune in. So stay tuned for more information about how to pre-register for those Title Talks.
And from our shelves to yours,
Cheers.
stay safe, everyone.
Bye.